And students, all the students, could you lead us in the pledge, please? Thank you. And I'd like to ask for a moment of silence for William Forgione, who passed away on April 16th, 2025. Mr. Forgione was hired as a teacher at South End Elementary School in 1959, and he retired in 1990. And also, Judith Iavana, who passed away earlier this week. Mrs. Iavana was an instrumental music teacher, last at South End School, and on a personal note, she helped to instill a love of music for both my sons. So a moment of silence for Mr. Forgione and Mrs. Iavana. Thank you. Okay, and I shall turn it over to Mr. Medancy.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Tonight's celebration, it does say presentation, but I'm going to call it more of a celebration. I know it's a very long robotics season, even though the kickoff is right after the holiday. But once they get started, there's a lot of days, a lot of hours, and a lot of effort put into a season. And I was able to catch one competition this year, and they were very successful that weekend that I was able to get there. And I just really admire this organization. I think all of the parents and the volunteers and the advisors just put a lot of effort into giving these kids a great experience. And you can see the results. So they're here tonight to present to you and show you a little bit about the results. It's all yours.
To begin, we would like to deliver our impact presentation. This presentation outlines all of the outreach and activities that we do for our community and beyond throughout the past 3 years. We'll present this, and we present this at every competition. This year, we were awarded the New England District Impact Award out of over how many district teams are there? About 200. So out of 200 teams, we were gratefully awarded this award. And we competed for this exact presentation that you're about to see at the world level in Houston this past year.
Reach.
Reach is more than a 5-letter word.
Is it social media views?
Is it partnerships and government connections?
Is it the lengths to which you will go to connect with a community?
Or is it growing first programs?
To Team 195, Reach is all of that and more.
For 28 years, the Cyberknights have turned STEAM into a force that transcends classrooms, communities, and even continents. Through a relentless focus on community engagement, FIRST expansion, government advocacy, STEAM outreach, team and student development, and sustainability, we have built a legacy that doesn't just impact individuals. It transforms society.
We started off with a 3-year strategy and are seeing its reach through a clear multi-year plan. We've achieved over 20,000 student hours and over 3,000 outreach hours annually. Our team is living the FIRST vision. We are creating a world where young people aspire to become the next technology leaders and innovators.
Since our inception, our team has directly impacted over 1,200 Cyberknights. Our current team is comprised of 43 students and 21 mentors who work on one or more of our 7 specialized subteams. These mentors represent industries such as aerospace, education, and engineering, and utilize their real-world skills to help support our activities.
Students spend over 650 hours in leadership workshops and team building sessions to develop the skills necessary to lead with confidence. In the off-season, technical training takes center stage, with students spending more than 250 hours mastering CAD, programming languages like C++ and Python, as well as manufacturing processes. These experiences enable every team member to excel in their roles and contribute meaningfully to our collective goals.
Beyond our team, we reach all ages with the FIRST vision.
In 2023, we had a 200% increase in our FLL efforts. Since then, all of these teams have been sustained. We currently provide mentorship and resources to 21 FLL teams and 3 FTC teams. This outreach has impacted over 250 students and sparks a lifelong appreciation for STEAM.
We have shared our full-scale practice field and machine shop to 53% of FRC teams in the state of Connecticut, and we have even reached across state borders. Additionally, our Nightline live chat service enables us to assist teams worldwide, providing advice on anything from technical issues to event preparation. This live chat experience has assisted teams as far as Israel and India.
Our annual STEM for All event has attracted over 300 participants in the past 3 years. We offer 23 interactive experiments such as liquid nitrogen and sink or float. This free community event sparks curiosity in young minds that creates a lasting passion for STEAM. We also work to close water disparities through our WaterWorks program, which we started back in 2022.
The Cyberknights strive to bridge the gender gap in STEAM. In 2024, we launched programs such as Girls Who Code and Girl Scout STEAM Camp to help children explore technology. We designed and delivered our curriculum for Girl Scout STEAM Camp, as well as designed, delivered, and published our curriculum for WaterWorks to help new STEAM curriculum reach new audiences.
We take pride in our Elder Knights program, which has run for 7 years and impacted over 150 senior citizens. We use Lego therapy to aid those with memory-related conditions, and we have seen firsthand what it could do to help. This initiative demonstrates that STEAM could be used to build bridges across generations and enhance lives in unexpected ways.
Our roots in Sellington run deep, and we take pride in being an active part of our community. From participating in the Apple Harvest Festival Parade, where we reach over 100,000 people, to honoring our veterans, we are committed to creating a lasting impact both locally and in neighboring towns.
We have also brought our message to the state level through the CT State Manufacturing Fair in 2023 and 2024. We've been invited and will appear here again at the end of this month. Here, we advocate for STEAM education to all 1,000 attendees and all 151 lawmakers. We've strengthened support for robotics while making valuable connections with potential sponsors and advocates.
Recently, we have proposed a piece of legislation that would create a grant to provide FLL materials to schools in order to further the incorporation of STEAM curriculum. This document has been proposed and reviewed to 9 lawmakers within the state of Connecticut.
Our long-term success is built on a foundation of sustainability. Our students are directly involved in securing funding, raising over $43,000 this year alone through sponsorship drives. By fostering strong relationships with our sponsors, we ensure that their support goes beyond monetary contributions. They become partners in our mission.
Honoring Team 195's accomplishments, we've been recognized as the CIAC Team of the Year for the past 2 years in a row. We've also been featured by local media for our accomplishments across the state of Connecticut. Our social media has gained significant visibility.
With over 151,000 YouTube views over the past 3 years, 51% of that is in relation to our robot reveals. In fact, our YouTube interaction is up over 5% in the past 2 years, with 2,600 hours consumed. Our platform on Instagram saw more than 112,000 views throughout last FRC season alone. This social media presence includes robot reveals, the Nightline, our team updates, as well as our community outreach.
Preparing for the future is a key part of our strategy. All of our underclassmen participate in FTC, where they gain the skills needed for FRC. They are mentored by the upperclassmen students. With a 95% student retention rate and consistent sponsor engagement, we've created a model that ensures our team's impact will last for years to come.
So, what makes Team 195 different?
The Cyberknights are more than just a robotics team. We are a catalyst for change, a source of inspiration, and an advocate for our community. From mentoring the next generation of engineers to connecting with seniors, from growing FIRST programs to championing STEAM education, our work continues to transform lives. We strive to spread the FIRST mission, impact the FIRST community, and inspire STEAM for the future.
Together, we are creating a future where innovation knows no bounds.
Where we instill lifelong skills into our team members.
Where we shape young minds.
Where we advocate for our community through our government.
And where we sustain long-term, quantifiable impact on every individual, team, and community we reach.
Thank you.
Wow.
So as I had shared with you, and I think Lauren had shared one of our previous board rep updates, the Impact Award, which is essentially what they just shared with you, is the most prestigious award, even more than winning tournaments and competitions. That's the one that they hold in the highest regard, and so it's a very big deal this year that they were able to pull that off. So congratulations.
Thank you.
And now for the fun part.
Okay, so up next, we'll be going over our robot. This is our robot, NyQuil. Normally, it's not connected to a tether at competitions, but right now, for demo purposes, it is. So we'll start off with our drive base. It's a 4-swerve module drive base. This allows us to move around quickly and maneuver around. That's our funnel right there that just intake the piece of coral. And next we've got our elevator. It's a two-stage cascading elevator which can score at multiple different positions. The operator has multiple different buttons where it can select the position that the robot wants to go on. So they're able to score in multiple areas. We've also got our ground intake, which is used to score at the lowest level of the reef. And this allows for fast scoring at the bottom since it doesn't have to travel very far. Next, we have our climbing mechanism, which has a magnet on it, so the cage is able to stick to the magnet, and then this signifies to the sensor on there that the robot is ready to climb, and so the operator presses one button, and then the entire climb is automated.
So this year we had 4 competitions. We had 2 pretty local. We had one at Western New England University and another one at Hartford, the public high school. We won both of those local district events, and then we went on to the district championship this year. We went fairly far in our division. We were semifinalists of our division this year, and which was a pretty well turnout, and we also won the Impact Award there as well, which is an incredibly big feat. We haven't done that since 2019. So it's an incredibly big impact that we made around the Southington community and farther. And then we went on to the World Championships, which we were also semifinalists in our division this year, which is probably one of the best years we've had probably since pre-COVID. I think this is the best year we've had in a very long time.
Congratulations.
So, as a representation of our continued success, in thanks to the Board of Education and the town of Southington for supporting us, I would love to present the Board of Ed with a plaque from our Hartford District event win with the robot. In addition to the famed blue banner that we're awarded for winning the event, we also are awarded medals for every student, but we also get the plaque with this season's logo on it and the event that we won. And I would love for this to be gifted to the Board of Education as a thank you for all of the support and work that you've given towards us the past few years to make all of this possible.
Oh, wow.
That's so She's gonna cry. Yeah.
You know how I feel. I am your cheerleader. You impress me every time I see you. I'm grateful tonight you didn't hit me with anything. I told her that I was gonna get hit with the ball, but we are just so proud of you. We are so proud of your reach in the community. Can I be one of those seniors that builds Legos? You know about it, now I do, so thank you for all you do, thank you to the adults who mentor but what you learn, the lessons you learn here, you'll keep forever. So, thank you. This will be displayed up in the hallway or the office for Nancy. I'll leave that to you. And we can take a
Pretty cool.
3-minute recess. Oh, did you want to say something, Mr. Mann? I'm sorry.
I would just like to mention, and I've been watching these things for a long time, and I don't know if people realize the impact in the world. This is an organization that's got world respect, and from our town of Southington, it's just amazing. And then the way you innovate with how you can outreach and different things, you make us so proud. Thank you so much.
Anybody else want to?
Yeah, one thing, I just wanted to piggyback, you mentioned, and so I'd mentioned before I went and I did the tour, you actually gave me the tour and my daughter the tour around the workshop. And one of the comments that you made that day when we went on the tour is that you hadn't won the Impact Award since 2019 and you were hoping this was the year. And so it's just awesome to see that come true, and you guys are amazing. You continue to impress us all, and you're definitely the shining stars of this town, so thank you very much for what you do.
Yay.
Can I say just
Yeah,
one thing?
yeah.
Maybe they gave the Impact Award presentation. Your oratory skills are amazing. I'm sitting here watching you and looking at you guys thinking, my God, you could be up there giving public speeches anywhere you want. You did fantastic. You should be very proud of yourself.
Yeah.
You should all be pretty proud of yourself.
Amen.
Thank you.
So I have a couple inventions that I've never shared with anybody yet, but they're big, and I believe they would do very well. So I'm gonna hire those three to go on Shark Tank, and I'll just be the guy behind with the idea, and they can pitch it, and we'll split the profits.
Okay. All good. Thanks, kids. Thanks so much for sharing the robot with us.
Thank you for having us.
Hey,
Can I just
absolutely
add
our
one?
pleasure. Al?
Madam Chair? Can I
Yes.
Just want to, yesterday morning, I happened to be at Goodwin University. That was a conference that was held by Electric Boat, and they called it Rising Tides. And it's how to develop young students for activities involving building of submarines. So it was kind of focused. And it was unique because one of the speakers from the state of Connecticut made mention of our robotics teams. And they did mention,
All right.
excuse me, 195. And I guess there was 6 or 7 teams from Connecticut that did very well in the nationals and in the sub. And again, you know more about it than I do, but it was just heartwarming to hear that Southington got noticed at that level. So, congratulations.
Well done. Yeah. Well done. Yay. Yay. All right. You need a little time to, we're going to take a 5-minute recess so they can
Get the robot out.
get the, all right.
Escort the robot out.
So they can,
And avoid the rain at the same
Yeah,
time
well,
with
that
the
too.
robot.
Do we get the robot to come to our house to clean?
no, the robot will not come to your house to clean. It will come to my house first. Before it does.
Yeah, you look.
It's not a Roomba.
to move item 11A to item 7E.
Second?
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, motion approved. Approval of the minutes of April 10th.
So, second.
Okay, any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Communications from our student board reps.
Good evening, board members. It's been a busy and productive week at the Southington High School as students have officially begun the AP testing. Despite the intensity of these exams, students have been working incredibly hard, and we recognize everyone's efforts as we approach the final stretch of the school year. Looking ahead, we're excited for senior prom, which will be held on May 17th at 6 p.m. Students are eagerly preparing for what promises to be a memorable night of celebration and friendship. Also, the inaugural SHS Fashion Show, hosted by the Fashion Magazine Club, will take place on May 30th at 6 p.m. The student-led event will showcase designs inspired by spring florals in the Y2K era. Last week, we celebrated the induction of new members into the National Honor Society and the World Language Honor Society. This is a significant achievement recognizing students' academic excellence, leadership, and dedication to service in the community. Congratulations to all who were honored. And finally, congratulations to all the students who were recognized for achievements at last night's academic award ceremony at the high school.
Moving on to our district report, Oshana Elementary School would like to congratulate fifth graders Aiden Owlett and Tessa Rawson, who were invited to the CT State Finals for their Invention Convention projects held at University of Connecticut this past Saturday. They were among students from across the state of Connecticut, including fifth graders from Southington Elementary Schools. Aiden's project, Solar Shield, won a Certificate of Achievement from Eversource, and Tessa's project, the Now I See It, will advance to the Invention Convention U.S. Nationals in Michigan in 2026. We are so proud of them. At DePaulo, the ABC Steps is sponsoring a staff versus student kickball game next week in support of Asset of Caring School Climate. In order to motivate DePaulo students to do their best work on the Smarter Balance testing, a variety of activities are being held. Students at DePaulo would like to express their gratitude and appreciation to all staff in recognition of Staff and Teacher Appreciation Week. Band, chorus, and orchestra students at DePaulo are finalizing preparations for their spring concerts, which will start next week. Animal helpers at DePaulo are hatching chicks that will be added to the school chicken coop next door to DePaulo. The first chick just hatched this afternoon. At JFK, it's been a busy week celebrating the teachers and staff during Appreciation Week. JFK is incredibly thankful for the generosity of so many families and local businesses who helped celebrate our staff. Our library leaders, led by library specialist Mr. Chris Carvalho, recently went for a visit and training at the new Southington Public Library. Mr. Carvalho also presented at the Connecticut Library Association's annual conference about the success of our Library Leaders program. He presented with 2 members of the Southington Public Library staff. The presentation talked about the work that the library leaders do and their joint programming efforts with our town library. Rob the Drummer was a big hit for our 7th and 6th grade students at JFK. His motivational message encouraged our students to believe in themselves and put their best foot forward. Finally, congratulations to 6th grader Advandir Singh, who was recognized for his award-winning Martin Luther King essay this past Saturday at a breakfast reception hosted by the United States Representative Johanna Hayes.
The baseball, softball, girls and boys lacrosse, boys and girls track and field, and the boys tennis teams have all qualified for the CCC conference and the state tournament championship competitions. The girls tennis and boys volleyball team are still in contention for postseason championship qualifications, and the SHS baseball team plays at Dunkin' Donuts Park at Hartford on Tuesday, May 20th versus Plainville at 3:30 p.m. in its regular season finale, heading into the postseason playoffs. Lastly, we want to congratulate Lily Cooper and Kevin O'Neill for being recognized as the CIAC Scholar Athletes for the school this past week.
Finally, we would lastly like to acknowledge the swift and responsible actions of our staff and students during yesterday's evacuation. Everyone responded quickly and calmly, and we are especially grateful for our staff for prioritizing student safety and managing the situation with such professionalism. Thank you.
Any questions of the students? Okay. Communication from board members? Anything? I have one item, as I was at the awards night last night up at the high school, and I happened to see someone walk up to get an award, Mr. Hoffman, that you didn't mention. You received an award. Could you tell everyone what you received an award for?
I got a scholarship for RIT, and I also got the Harvard Book Award.
Very
Yes.
nice,
Congratulations. Last night was a wonderful night. It just, to celebrate all these students and all they've done, it's just amazing. So it's a good time of the year to be a board member, I must say. Okay, communications from the administration.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Along the lines of robotics, I just wanted to thank publicly the Southington Robotics and Technology Education Association for their $5,000 gift towards an initiative in providing VES, VEX 123 robots to all of our elementary schools. It's an effort by our digital learning coordinator, Rebecca Savocal, to get coding and robotics into the library media curriculum. And so the part of the upfront investment is having the equipment to start that up. She originally had a plan that she had presented me to phase in purchasing of the equipment over several budget cycles, and they stepped up and had the funds available and were able to get it all done and in place for the fall. So we're very excited and thankful for them with that. Just a reminder for everyone, we know Monday is the town council budget adoption. That'll be an important meeting for us to keep an eye on. It'll certainly impact our reallocation plans. And then following that is the Board of Finance meeting on Wednesday, where Mrs. Mellett and I will be attending to request appropriations for the one-time purchases that we discussed during the workshop sessions. Also, a shout out to our staff on Operation Stay Warm. We know from Ms. Salerno, who oversees the entire operation and puts everything, gets things dry cleaned over the summer and gets things on racks and ready, sized and sorted for our families in need, that the staff here just, you could tell a lot of spring cleaning took place, including my house. Mrs. Pedancy sent me with a few bags. But the van was overflowing with coats and gloves and hats for families in our community that to be used this winter. So we are appreciative of our staff for supporting that. And then lastly, we received the results of, it happens every 5 years, it's the Agricultural Science Technology Education Center. The state comes in and does a program compliance review. We got very favorable remarks and results in that compliance review. There is one requirement, there's recommendations and then there's a requirement that I'm going to try and work with them on. It's that we no longer use one of the classrooms in the building that we currently use for science classes, because it's exclusively supposed to be used for ag sci students, the building. And the high school several years back had an overflow because we increased science class offerings because the labs needing to use the science classroom. So their requirement is that we cease using the classroom for September 2025. The problem with that is we've already finished building the schedule right now. We don't do it, over the summer. So we have that several sections slated to use that classroom. And we also know that it will involve some capital then, if that's the case, because we're going to need to convert a classroom at the high school into a science lab to continue accommodating those course sections. So I'm going to reach out to them. I do have a decent relationship with the person at the state who sent the letter and oversees things, to see if we, yes, we will comply, of course, but can we get an extension so that I can work with the town and the board on some sort of capital funding that may be needed to make that transition. But otherwise, I would say it went so well that the State Board of Education asked if they can come and do a tour of the program and the facility, just based on how well the program is run up there. And so the Harold Mackin, who works for the State Department of Education, and a State Board of Education member, and there were supposed to be a couple others, they got held up in Bridgeport that day, did come down and take a tour of the facility along with Mrs. Clark and I, and it's just remarkable. It got me thinking as we were there. I said I want to invite our board members in for a visit of the facility, because we hear about it, but to lay eyes on it is a whole nother story. So I will coordinate some dates and send it out to folks that if they wanted to drop in and get a tour. The students were great tour guides. They do the talking. They do a nice job explaining the different courses and programs that exist within the program. So all in all, it was very positive, and I'm very appreciative.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any questions of Mr. Medancy? Yes.
Chair, can I have a comment and ask, bless you.
Thank you.
And if I could actually ask a question of our student board reps. Because you guys are essentially our ears and eyes at the student body level at the high school, again, a hot topic in the news is the Chromebook vandalism. So as a board member and community stakeholder, I'm concerned, right? And obviously our administration is concerned as well. So my question to you, is there anything that we can do as a board or as an administration to help support you as a student leader or get the messaging out to resist the wave of technology vandalism that we're seeing not only across the state but across the country?
I think one way that we could limit this would be further education to students and staff. I feel that students don't really understand the value of the technology that they're given, as it wasn't something that their parents had to pay for. It was given to them by the district and they'll return it when they graduate. But I don't think a lot of students really understand the cost that this gives to the district, especially all of the emergency costs that come with misbehavior. So I think educating students on costs would be helpful, because maybe it will instill a bit of reason into them and say, hey, maybe I shouldn't destroy someone else's property. I think also maybe sending something out to teachers and saying, hey, you might want to keep an eye on this. This is what's going on, so that everyone's on the same page. Personally, I haven't seen anything of this sort on social media, but I think that that's one of the biggest issues, is not everyone seeing the same thing. Okay. So if we were able to get everybody on the same page about what the current threats to our technology are, it would be easier to stop.
Okay. Thank you.
Absolutely.
And any comment?
No, she sums it up pretty well.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Communication from the public on agenda items. And if you could state your name and address, please, for the record.
I'm very nervous.
That's
My
okay.
name is Tracy Ianni. I live at 46 Alpine Trail in Plantsville. I'm here tonight to talk about agenda item 11B. I have lived in Southington for 53 years. I love this town, but what I don't love is all the ways it has changed. We seem to build on every blade of grass that is available, often with bigger and bigger homes. Queen Street is unrecognizable to me, which brings me to our schools. During my time here, we always had 9 elementary schools. A decision was made some time ago to close North Center School, where we're standing right now and sitting right now. I know what I thought I heard a couple weeks ago in our workshop. What I thought I heard was a consensus to move forward with new construction for Kelly, and I think maybe also a build out of South End School. And it sounded like maybe the rest was being tabled, but I was a little unclear on that. If the decision, I don't know if you're making any decision tonight, but if you are, anything that involves renovating or rebuilding, I'll be the first person to stand in line to empty my pockets to do so. What I can't support is to close a school, especially a wonderful neighborhood like Flanders School. I feel like that would be a huge loss to our community. I work in one of the schools, not one of the elementary schools, but the school I am in was renovated about 10 years ago, maybe a little more. And we have a classroom there with students with special abilities that in that time, that has expanded from 1 room to 3, and they're still bursting at the seams. So I know what numbers look like right now, but maybe it will change in the span of time that those gentlemen talked about. a decision to close a school, however far down the line, is not something that I would support. Things have certainly changed since my time as a student. My son is here with me. He was a student here as well. He is now an adjunct professor at CCSU. And I'm not sure what the town gains by closing one of our wonderful schools. I just don't understand it from the word go, and I hope that this board will move away from that thinking. I know that in my own personal experience that the folks that I have talked to, many of them aren't even aware of that, and their first response to me is, why are we closing a school? So what I would ask you for your strong consideration to look at maybe renovating or rebuilding any school that needs it and not closing yet another school. Thank you.
Thank you, Tracy.
Thank you.
Hello, Seth Korn, Yorktown Road. Madam Chair, Board of Ed members, Superintendent Medancy, and your administrative team. I am a parent of 2 current Kelly Elementary School students. I was not able to attend the recent Board of Education Elementary Facilities Workshop, and unfortunately there was no audio on the recording. It is my understanding that it was decided, not yet voted on, by the members present at the meeting that the Kelly Elementary School project is to move forward with tabling the other 2 schools for now. I am hopeful to hear that the board has finally come to this decision, but there is still discussion of when to move this project to referendum, with a possible change from November 2025 to May 2026. I do not support delaying the project further to hold a special referendum vote election next May. I want to remind the board that the last time we delayed a vote, the town had other priorities to put on the ballot, such as the town paving project, and we did not want to competing items on the ballot. I ask, do you know at this time if the town has other priorities that they plan to pursue with a vote in May 2026? Would they even approve a special May 2026 election related to school buildings? Let's keep the momentum going and bring forward this request to the Board of Finance at their next meeting and then the Town Council for a November 2025 referendum. Since the last time I spoke at the Board of Education meeting, I was glad to hear some of you took the opportunity to go see Kelly in person, and some others will be going soon. This way, you can not just make your decision solely from the facility reports provided to you or from a sense of tradition and or history. As I stated before, seeing the actual building will or has changed your decision on delaying the project any further. The time is now to proceed with the Kelly School project. There is a whole summer and fall to work on a campaign for this referendum to pass. I will again state that I want to collaborate and work with this board and the future board to see this project through. It is in the best interest of our students and community. Kelly School is long past its lifespan. As I said before, I'm extending my hand and hoping you're willing to work together. I am ready and willing to continue this conversation now, following this meeting, and in the weeks and months to come, to move the project forward to be considered for a November 2025 referendum. Thank you.
Thank you, Seth.
Hello, my name is Andrew Ianni. I live on Alpine Trail, similarly with my mother, Tracy. I have lived in Southington essentially my whole life, and I'm a proud product of the public school system here. Currently, and as she told you a little bit, I am currently an adjunct professor of sociology at Central Connecticut State University in New Britain, and I'm a proud union member with AUP. So I'm here today because I find this talk about closing Flanders to be alarming, to say the least. And this is as our state is currently facing ongoing crises around education, the lack of funding. Closing schools is not going to be the solution to that problem. In addition, it's concerning to me that outside consultants have been paid to tell us what we should do with our schools instead of that money going to our faculty and staff who do the important work of educating and supporting our students. Now, my mother, as a great example, makes less than $25,000 a year after 11 years of service here in this town. I hear her assert day in and day out the pressing need for more help in our school system, for more staff, for more support and services, for more funding in general. Like, closing schools will not solve those issues. So I urge this board to please consider strongly keeping Flanders open to provide the support for the students, the faculty, and the staff of Southington Public Schools. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, thank you. Item 70, field trips. Excuse me. Do I have a motion?
Yes, Madam Chair, I make a motion the Board of Education approve the field trip request as presented by administration.
Second.
Any discussion, other than we all want to go? Well, I do. I'm speaking for you too, Sean. No discussion? No questions? Did you want to get up and say something? Okay.
So thank you for letting us come up for a second. We'll try and keep it short, but we did bring you some chocolate from Budapest. So we did just get back from a trip to Berlin, Krakow, Prague, and Budapest. It was a 10-day adventure with 11 students, and it was amazing. The students that we tend to travel with are students that are from all different aspects of the academic pathways, I should say. We have students that don't take foreign language, so don't have access to foreign language trips, that have the opportunity to travel with us and explore the world and kind of broaden their horizons a bit beyond Southington and Connecticut. And we just had a fabulous trip. We got to tour a memorial in Germany, in Berlin, Germany, with an Auschwitz survivor who was actually involved in designing the memorial. Her stories, I think all of us would agree, that was, in my opinion, the highlight of the entire trip, because to travel on a bus around the city with her and have her tell us stories of what it was really like, and talking to her relatives who lived through Auschwitz, and then to follow that up with going to Auschwitz. It was an eye-opening experience. We spent a lot of time talking to the kids about what they were going to see, what emotions they might feel. Like, we really, I think we take a lot of pride in making sure that these kids are well prepared to appreciate the history, to appreciate the emotion and the power, whether it be standing in front of a Van Gogh piece of art, to standing in Auschwitz or in Birkenau and feeling the emotion all around them. It really has been such a priceless experience for all of us. So we want to thank you for again and again backing us, and we want to promise you that we take these trips very seriously, and these kids that go on these trips are our children. They are our babies. As we get on the bus, we're like, hi, I'm the new mom. And it's, I think it allays the parents' fear, but also it's a big responsibility. But we love it. You'll get to see some faces that got to enjoy it this time around. Awesome. We look at their plans. We go into it with a lot of experience. So this next trip is actually going to be Scotland and England. We'll be going to Edinburgh Castle. We'll be visiting Stratford-upon-Avon, where we will see the birthplace and resting place of Shakespeare. And in the high school, our English students read Romeo and Juliet freshman year. They read Julius Caesar. In fact, I was teaching it today to a couple of multilingual learners. Sophomore year, and then junior and senior year, they read Macbeth and Hamlet. So they are constantly being exposed to Shakespearean works, and also beyond those key works, also sonnets. We do a lot with poetry in our English department. So for the kids that go, this is going to be a very meaningful trip. We'll also go to Stonehenge, so they'll get plenty of history. So this is going to be a really exciting trip. I think we're really hoping a lot of kids take advantage of it. We've traveled with as many as 40 before. This time it was as little as 11, so it was really a different experience. And oh yes, every year we have repeat students, which I think speaks volumes about how the parents felt, how the kids felt. This year we had people who had been on all 3 years since COVID.
We have 2 students that have traveled with us 3 times and 5 students that went on the trip last year, and then they came with us this year.
Yeah, so it's been a great experience. So we hope you enjoy the chocolates and keep approving us.
That's bribery.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah.
Do we have to give, what'd you say?
No, I'm not.
Okay, is there any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Thank you for doing what you do. It is appreciated.
You really need to say that to my husband. Several years in a row, we have been away on Easter.
Oh.
It's always April break.
Would you thank your husband? Thank you. Thank you. Okay, next item on the agenda, committee reports. I have to put my glasses on so I can see. Mr. Bajewski is not here with us, so Mr. Pepe, would you please give the report?
Yes. Meeting was called to order at 5:34, and Mrs. Passamano, in her continued effort to revise the 4000 series, presented 10 different descriptions for to update a variety of roles to bring the revisions offered really represent current expectations based on the evolution of each role. Mrs. Passamano had worked with the union leadership to collaboratively update each description. She also proposed providing committee members with a copy of a new employee handbook and related policies. She plans to distribute these documents in May so the committee members can review, and we can plan to either dedicate one very long, large meeting or break it up over a variety of meetings next year. The committee members recommended the proposed revisions presented to the full board for approval and gave her the nod to go ahead with the handbook. The committee reviewed proposed revisions to policy 5113, attendance, excused absences, and truancy. The changes align district language with state reporting, such as terms of unverified absence instead of excused absences. No other substantive changes were proposed. The committee reviewed the proposed changes and updates in policy 5114, and many of the proposed changes bring the district in compliance with legislative mandates. The other proposed changes bring the policy in line with the AI work that we completed during the last PMP sessions. Policy 5145.3 was presented per our legislative mandates. The district abandoned the 2024 Title IX regulations and defaults back to the 2020 policy and regulations. Policy 9321 suggested changes to more accurately represent the board's current practices. The board no longer separates meetings into the committee of the whole operations or the committee of the whole instruction. There are also months where 2 meetings do not occur, hence the addition of one strategically placed word in the first sentence, generally. And the only other change was regular meetings. The session ended at 6:16.
Any questions for Mr. Pepe? Mr. Brown?
Yeah, having taught the high school, and shall I say, seen challenges from parents and students about a couple of these policies. I just want to be clear on the changes, so the public hears that, and so the board really hears it too. And the 2 I'm looking at are the discipline one and the attendance one. Could you just explain what the changes are?
Yeah, so the attendance one, attendance, excused absences, and truancy, really the bulk of the policy and regs did not change. It was more to bring the vocabulary that we use in-house to align with our state reporting standards so that we're accurately representing and accurately reporting chronic absenteeism, truancy, and such. If we take a look at the discipline policy, things such as bringing into line that we had to add cannabis into our discipline policy as defined by Connecticut General Statute. A good example to what you are referring to is there are two mandatory expulsions in the state of Connecticut, and one is the Guns Free Act. So obviously you can't bring a weapon onto school grounds. If you do, it's an automatic, you have to go to expulsion. The other, talking about adding cannabis, the law says that the law used to say any cannabis, you have to go to expulsion. Now, in the Connecticut statute, you can bring up to 1 kilogram and not have to go for a mandatory expulsion. The board has the right to apply a more strict, I'll say, bar level, which is what the PNP recommends that you do, so that line wouldn't be included. So the changes that we make are to make sure that our policies reflect what the legislative mandates are, but in some instances, like the one I just described, is to make them even more or less stringent. This time it was more stringent.
Thank you, Mr. Pepe.
Anyone else? Good? Okay. Thank you, Mr. Pepe. Next item on the agenda, the superintendent's personnel report. Looking for a motion.
Move to approve the personnel report as presented.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Motion passes. Okay. Town government communications. Anybody? No? Okay. Then on to new business. First item is the district-wide facilities. Mr.
Thank you, Madam
Bedanzi.
Chair. So that's a broader agenda item because there's two items underneath it. I think that each warrant separate discussion. The first being the elementary school construction project and just putting it back on the agenda because that's what we had communicated out to the public, that there would be a workshop on the 24th, and if any action would occur, it would be on May 8th. And so at this point, I will turn it over to the board for that discussion.
Did you want to start, Mr. Brown?
No.
Oh, no.
I was opening some water.
Oh.
Haven't just enjoyed
I'm sorry.
chocolate.
Okay. At our meeting that we had, the workshop rather, the discussion was, we were all in agreement, Kelly School was in need. Those of us who have been, I was there yesterday, yes, it is in need. And we also talked about the build-out of South End School and the whys and the wherefores, but we also talked about the timing of what we were going to do and which would be in the best interest of making sure that this passed. And I believe the consensus for most of us was that while sooner would be terrific, we were trying to look at it realistically, what would be in the best interest, and the best interest would be in May of 2026. Excuse me, to hold, to hold the referendum then. And I think that was the consensus that we all came to. Yeah, okay. So the reality is we don't actually have to vote on anything this evening as far as that, as long as we do have a consensus that, yes, we are going to move forward in May with the referendum. Is that?
I would actually move that we.
You want, okay.
Yeah, I would move that we approve phase 1 for the elementary school completion project.
Okay.
With the recommendation, I know that obviously this goes to the town council, and they would be the ones that actually decide when it would go on the referendum, but I would make the recommendation that we hold it in May, just to give the time to get through the, all the other processes that take place. And I also think it gives us a little bit more time, and I brought this up during the workshop, but it gives more time to see what's going to happen with, tariffs and supply chains and everything else that may impact. We have another item coming up after this, roofs. It's a lot more cut and dry. Whereas when you're talking about a massive facility project, there's a lot more risk involved, and I just think the timing may be to our benefit to be prudent and smart with how we would plan to spend that kind of fund. So.
Okay. Now, if we were to vote tonight, would this then go automatically over to the town council for their consideration, or how does?
When you approve the scenario, that's the project that I will propose and bring forward to the town
Okay.
council. They will set the date of public hearings, and then they will authorize for bonding at whatever date they choose to do it. If the recommendation is May, then I won't be bringing the project forward for consideration right now, because the timing there's a lot to do with the authorization for bonding and then the blackout period relative to a referendum. And so we have to time it, but it would allow a parent action committee to be formed. It would allow us to work with other community organizations to help message and gain support for the project if we brought that forward. But if you get that authorization for bonding first too early, then the blackout period starts and you can't advocate for the project any longer. So you have to be strategic and intentional with that. So you can vote with that recommendation, which essentially is the board directing me then to pursue a May referendum with the town council, and then it's up to them to authorize it.
Okay. Yes, Mr.
Just from a
Rosano.
timing perspective, if a decision is made and a vote is made for a May referendum, did I hear you say you're not going to bring that to the council now?
No, in terms of going through the public hearing process, like proposing the project, getting their approval for it, once that's on the docket, there's going to be public hearings that have to be slated, that have to occur before they can authorize bonding. But you want to bring it forward at a time when obviously when the public hearings would happen, so that the public's aware of the project. But then also, if it leads up, the public hearings with the town council and the Board of Finance lead up to the authorization for bonding, and once that's authorized, then the referendum is slated, the blackout period it starts.
So this board makes a recommendation.
Yep.
Right, but the council makes the decision.
Correct.
Of when? Of when the referendum was. So if
They could say no to next May.
well, that's where I'm going. So what if the council decided, no, I don't want to do May, I want to do November? What happens there?
You're not recommending that, unless you're saying next November.
I understand that.
Yeah.
So, but what if the council says, I'm not going to follow the recommendation of the board? I think the decision should be November of 2025.
Mm-hmm. It's a good question. I mean, that is certainly their prerogative to do it. I would have to talk about the grant application deadline, the public hearings. I know where we are right now, and I know what their meeting schedule is and what public hearings they would have to have within that timeline. But that is their prerogative. They could certainly do that.
So I only raise that in the sense that because if the council wants to make it November, and I have no idea what they would do, right? But if you don't bring it soon enough, they can't do that. So we're kind of forcing a decision to either May of next year or November of next year, right?
Correct.
Or some point in between.
Yeah.
It could basically be any point. But the decision of the date is not ours.
Correct.
Okay. I mean, something's got to be done. The school needs help. The school has needed help for a long time. Yeah, go through that school a couple years ago. It needed help. So I guess the only other question I'd ask is what is the recommendation tonight? What would be put on the agenda if we're going to vote on it? Is it Kelly School, or is it Kelly and South End?
Kelly and South End
Kelly
is
and
what I would
South End.
propose. It would be the phase one as presented by the committee.
And I think it would give us the opportunity, if we just vote on phase one tonight, phase two, even as a member of the facilities committee, I'm not comfortable that I have all the data in order to make a truly educated decision on what to do with Darrenowski and Flanders. I'd like more information. I know that what we were given, but there's other things to take into consideration. However, with that being said, I don't want to delay Kelly any more than
I agree. I agree.
so I'd like to vote on phase one this evening. Hold off, and we have time now to develop phase two, what is in the best interest of the community.
And if I can, just for like a point of clarification, right, we would be voting, and I think this is why I think it's important, right? One, it's showing that we hear what people are saying and that this board is committed to moving forward with this project. And, you know, from that point, right, we're gonna make the recommendation for May that at least lets the council know what our intentions are and what we want for a project. And then I would lean on to the superintendent to obviously, you know,
Yeah, I
reach
mean,
out.
I'm your employee, so if the recommendation of the committee is to adopt phase one and direct me to pursue a May referendum with the council, that's what I will go forward and ask them for. I think they would understand. I mean, obviously, we do. There is town council members and board of finance members and planning zone all on the district-wide facilities committee. So I think they would understand through the process that there's a rationale behind why we're going with May. And I think that's the partnership that exists in terms of, you know, supporting the recommendation. It would be one or the other, right? They say yes or they say not at this time.
As long as you give them the right time frame, right? And the only other thing is just if we vote yes or no to phase one, that does not seal phase two happening, phase three. It has nothing to do with any of the others. This is putting a stake in the ground for one particular component. It doesn't mean a school's gonna close. It doesn't mean that we're gonna renovate. It doesn't mean we're gonna build. It means phase one is gonna be done.
Correct.
Chair.
Yes.
And I just want to, a point of clarification. Just because this board moves to a recommendation this evening on Kelly on a phase one, that our recommendation does not limit a further discussion on the dollar amount, the scope of that phase one project, correct?
Correct. You're not voting on a dollar amount tonight. Everything that they have there is just cost estimates, and I think that's what Mr. Williams was referring to. We really don't know what the cost is going to be,
Right.
given the uncertainties around the economy right now and tariffs. And so, no, you're not committing to any dollar amount.
Okay, so our recommendation this evening is basically, our intentions are to bring this to referendum. Our recommendation is that occur in the spring of 2026. And then at that point, you have essentially the discussion around, are we in alliance and agreement with that referendum date, and what is involved in the bonded amount?
Yeah, so I would work, if you were to approve that scenario for a spring referendum, I would work that with the town manager, essentially backwards from the referendum date that he would support, on the timelines relative to how much, and I know this a little bit from conversations we've already had, there's a certain amount of time the town needs to get the bond ordinance in order. And so working obviously backwards off of that, when the public hearings would occur based on when, you know, the council meetings are, the Board of Finance meetings are, planning and zoning meetings are, and then what the blackout period would be, and taking all of that into consideration in order to try and gain support for the project. So that's why it's kind of one of those things that it's not hard and fast, because we would work backwards. Obviously, the town manager would advise the council the same way you advise me. Or I'm sorry, reverse, the town council would advise the town manager. So if May were what they were supporting, that's when he and I would work together to establish the timeline for all of those mechanisms to occur.
Okay, and just to follow that up a little bit, because, you know, while a new Kelly is a priority, has been a priority, you know, this is something that, you know, myself personally, I wanted to see this move to referendum last year. Unfortunately, you know, timing and the calendar didn't allow us to do that. Again, we're in a uncomfortable economic and financial situation right now. And I think further planning and discussion needs to take place. And specifically, as it goes to our phased approach, there still needs to be discussion around what happens to Flanders, what happens to Daranowski. And in my mind, you know, what happens also with South End, right? Is, do we include that as part of phase one, or do we include that as part of a future phase or another redesign? Because again, we're talking millions of dollars here. So I want to make sure that just because we make a recommendation to move forward this evening, it doesn't prevent us from continuing to evaluate and conduct feasibility studies on ultimately what our plan is when it's at referendum for our voters to vote on.
I think when we developed the phases, it was based on closing a school. And in order to do that, we would have to increase the size of Kelly School, but we would also, at the same time, have to expand South End School so that we could, and present that to the state of Connecticut for the funding. I can never remember.
Department of DAS, Department of
Thank you,
Administrative
I can never
Services.
remember that. But that's why those two had to go together, because we have to show the state the utilization that we're going to have. And in order to do redistricting and close a school, or that was phase two, it would be, we would have to expand those two schools. So that's why those two went together. That was developed, correct me if I'm wrong, but that was in the Facilities Committee.
Yes.
We had discussed that, and that's why that had to be part, the South End portion had to be part. It wasn't just building a new Kelly school, because otherwise we'd have to overbuild Kelly. And that we did not want to do, because we wanted to right-size it with the other schools in the district, so. And that doesn't preclude us from talking about what we're going to do with the two remaining schools that need to be renovated. We can get into further discussion, and as I said, I'm not comfortable until I have more information regarding those two remaining schools. Mr. Williams, you wanted to, and then Mr. Brown.
Yeah, I was just gonna, and just to kind of speak to Mr. Carson's points, right? Like, the committee worked, they went through the full review, and they brought back their recommendations, and phase one was obviously Kelly and the South End build-out. I think what I would push for is that we move forward with that. Obviously, we're going to receive more cost data over time. There's going to be more, due diligence performed from now, through the cycle. So, if circumstances change, data changes, and and there's a reason to change, it's there. But again, I think it's important. We've done the work. The Facilities Committee did the work. And I think it's important that we go ahead and at least, move forward with a commitment that, hey, we're not going to stall on this. We're going to move forward. So,
Mr. Brown?
Yeah, I was just gonna, I'm interested in making a motion, but I want to ask a recommendation first. Would it be wiser to make one motion, including the recommended timing, or to perhaps make one motion about the construction and then a second motion about when to hold the referendum?
That's a good question. I mean, the motion that you're approving, if you designate the timing, and then the council either supports it as presented
That's
or
why
not.
I would make two motions.
I don't think we have to make a motion on the timing.
Right.
I believe that
exactly.
I believe we make a motion, an agreement to move forward with the phase.
Right.
Right? With the verbal, recommendation that as Steve, Mr. Medancy goes and works, with the council, communicates with the town, right? That he gives,
I agree.
kind of our feedback on what we believe is the best plan to move forward.
Right.
And I just want to speak to one further point about South End. When that was brought up, it was about the potential for school consolidation, but more importantly, one of the goals of the district-wide facilities committee was to create schools of comparable size, because we were also considering redistricting as part of this whole project, and balancing enrollment across the buildings. And we know there are pockets of students that currently go to Darrenowski that actually drive right by South End every day. They're up off of Meriden Waterbury Turnpike, a pretty large development. So part of it was we couldn't redistrict those students into South End based on the current utilization rate and size of it. And I think we all agree that if we are going to redistrict, we want to do it once. And so if South End is its own phase, that would certainly hinder that from occurring.
Any other questions? Mr. Brown?
Then I'd like to make a motion that we recommend to the town council that we proceed with a construction of a new Kelly school and also with the build-out of South End School.
Second.
Okay. Any further discussion? Okay. Let's do a roll call vote, please.
Mr. Darrenowski?
Yes.
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. O'Shannell?
Yes.
Mr. Williams?
Yes.
Mr. Carson?
Modified, yes.
Yes.
Mr. Cecil? Yes. Motion passes. And just so that the public is aware, Mr. Bajewski and Mrs. Carmody also agreed. I spoke with them. Neither of them, unfortunately, were able to be at tonight's meeting, but they also agreed with moving forward. Now, the second portion,
So, based on the workshop conversation, we couldn't have this discussion if this wasn't on the agenda, so potentially it would have been tabled if the decision was to go to referendum in November. Since it wasn't tabled, then we now can proceed with this conversation. One of the challenges, and I think one of the parents spoke to this tonight, is competing items on a referendum, and we lived this back in 2022 when there were a school roof, the high school roof, competed against the athletic facilities project. There were two separate questions, and the roof was way more of a nice to have, and the athletic facilities, I think, was viewed by the community as a need to have based on the vote results, and that referendum ultimately failed. I don't think it's in the district's best interest to repeat that and have the 3 elementary school roofs competing against 2 new, the new Kelly and South End build-out. Also, my worry is that those roofs are already past their useful life, and so that's why they were on capital for next year in terms of going forward for referendum. And so if this gets pushed a year to a 2026 referendum, then the roofs get pushed a year, and they've been on the capital plan since 2019. I did provide data for you in the portal of the roof repair log, as well as the roof replacement cycle, and you can see they're well past, based on the dates that they were last replaced, they're well past the timelines. So my recommendation to the board would be that if we are going to pursue the May school project, that we request consideration of the council for November referendum on the 3 roofs, so that the 2 don't compete against each other and the roofs don't get pushed out another year.
I'll make that motion. Move to approve the recommendation of the roof replacement at Hatton Elementary, Strong Elementary, and Thalberg Elementary.
Second?
Second.
okay. Any discussion?
November,
This November.
This November.
The difference with the roofs is
Yes.
it's a monthly submission for the
Oh,
roofs with DAS. It's not like where the school construction is a one time a year, June 30th. So, once I work with the town, the timeline that we can work on together to get that ready for referendum is a lot easier with the timelines involved.
Okay. Any other questions? All those,
so again, just clarifying, so what if, these are what ifs, you can't go on what ifs, but what if the council says they want to do a referendum November 2025 for this school?
I mean, you're asking me to go to the board and request that they consider a May 26 referendum. If they decide to go forward with the November, again, the same consideration you're giving right now is the same consideration they're going to give. They're going to say, we're not going to put 2 items forward for November 2025. So they'll say yes to one and no to the other, is how that would play out. Good question, though.
any other questions?
Just to try to make sure that we deconflict, should we, now, I guess this is kind of a point of order question to the parliamentarian. Should we modify the prior vote for the schools to say that we would be pushing for the May referendum on those, and this one specifically for November?
I mean, your motion is your record, and so that shows what you're asking. At the end of the day, again, I'm not going to request to be put on the town council agenda and request consideration for referendum until the timelines that I build out with the town manager necessitate that, so to speak. So I'm not going forward this June to say to the town council, will you consider a November referendum? Sure. Even more so, if we're not going to be submitting a grant application now based on the motion you just made, they can't put a referendum on the agenda, because you have to have a referendum on the agenda in order to submit the grant application.
Okay.
So it kind of limits their ability to do that anyways, and I probably should have shared that as well from the application submission standpoint.
Okay. So I think it's deconflicted.
Okay. Any other questions?
Just
Okay. Yeah.
clarification, Madam Chair? So the roofs that we're talking about, can we just get clarity on exactly what school roofs those are for?
Yeah, it was Hatton, Strong, and Thalberg.
Hatton, Strong, and Thalberg. Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions? All right, we have a motion on the floor? Yes. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, motion passes. Okay,
Madam Chair,
yes.
we got Town Council Chairperson, let's get in the back.
No. Public comment is coming up, just hang on there, hang on there. Okay, we have the first reading of policies on attendance, student discipline, sexual harassment of students, time, place, and notification of meetings. As always, if you have any questions regarding any of those policies, either see Mr. Pepe or Mr. Bajewski. We have approval of job descriptions. I'm looking, their administrative assistants for the elementary, middle school, bookkeeper, high school ag sci, high school assistant principal's office, high school attendance office, high school nurse's office, high school principal's office, high school purchasing department, high school special ed, high school counseling, middle school, high school. I'm looking for a motion.
Can we do one for all?
We can do one because they're all the same job title with?
Yes.
Yes, okay. So,
The Board of Education approve the job descriptions as presented.
Second.
any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. So for all those job descriptions, thank you for your work. Mrs. Passamano. Public communications. Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Paul Chaplinsky, 63 McIntosh Way, Town Council Chair. I would ask that the board, I've never heard of a motion where the Board of Education requests that the Board of Education move forward with a vote for the Town Council to consider building schools without a date. I would offer that the Town Council can't take any action to set a date. It's your decision to decide what date you would like. So the Town Council will not put on an agenda, at least at this point, on an agenda to determine when it should be done. The recommendation needs to be full from the Board of Education as to when you would like to see the build-out done. So my recommendation is that the Board of Education consider when it is they would like to see this on the school building that you voted on. When would you like to see it put on a referendum? And based on that, the superintendent should work with the town manager to back the date up. Unless you make a recommendation, if you go look at the charter, I mean, unless you make a recommendation for the referendum date, there's no action that we can actually take. So you need to make a recommendation, and then the town council needs to decide whether to accept that recommendation or not. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chaplinsky.
Seth Korn, Yorktown Road. I am excited that we finally came to the part where we can agree that Kelly has to happen and South End has to happen. I still have concerns on moving to a May referendum. The schools that you're discussing that need new roofs, they've already been touched and renovated. Kelly's never been touched. It's time. You created, or there was created, a district-wide facility committee, which members of the Board of Education were, town council members were a part of that. The finance committee, I believe, was also had members of that. They all listened to the same information you have heard and have all agreed stage one needs to happen. Not any time later, it needs to happen now. I think you really need to look at all your district-wide facility plan, because I think this is a perfect example of when you delay a project, something comes up and something pushes Kelly back again, and we're being pushed back again. November needs to happen. Let the town council decide if they would prefer November. Make a recommendation for November. They can always come back and say, not November, May, because you do not have the decision or the ability to request a May referendum. That is the charge of the town council, I believe. So again, I request that you consider moving and remotioning a vote for a November referendum for Kelly, and let the town council decide, and the finance committee decide if that is not the right decision to make. Thank you.
Any other public comment? Hearing none?
Ready?
I'm ready if you are.
Okay, move to adjourn.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.